My name is Dr. Diane Mitschke, and I am the director of the master's program here at UTA. You have gotten some emails from me already, and it is great to have you here on the call today so that I can introduce you to the things we have to offer you here as graduate students at UTA. So first, let's make sure you are in the right place. This is an orientation for traditional students, and what I mean by traditional student is that you are coming in with a bachelor's degree in another field other than social work, or you got your bachelor's degree in social work more than 6 years ago. If you got admitted to our program with what we call advanced standing, then you would not be a traditional student, and I need you to get in touch with me so that I can get you into the right cohort. So, you're a traditional student. You have chosen to focus on direct practice with children and families for your specialty area. And you are signed on to our 26-month program, which means that you will start now in August, and you will graduate 2 years from now in August of 2020. You will be taking 16-week courses, and we have what we call a cohort model, which means that you will be in classes with similar people for the duration of your program. So the people that you are in classes with this fall, you will see again in your classes in the spring and next year in your classes as well. Most of our students that are part of a cohort really like that model because they are able to develop friendships and networks with other students, and often these kinds of relationships can lead to employment opportunities in the future. And it's simply nice to know, who's in your classes with you and kind of develop those relationships and support systems. So I think you've made a good choice. What I have on the screen now is a screenshot of your degree plan. This is something that probably looks familiar to you if you have met with your academic advisor already. They have shared this with you. It's also available on our website. But this basically lays out for you semester by semester the courses that you'll be taking, and hopefully makes it pretty clear to see what you can expect from beginning to end in the program. So you can see, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, you start out the program in classes only. So in fall and spring semester, you'll only be in your online classes. But starting in the summer semester, you will start your field placement. You'll do 2 field placements while you're in the program, a foundation field placement and an advanced placement. And I will talk specifically about those later in the orientation. But this is kind of an overview of what you can expect from the program. I see a question from Anastasia. She says this is for online students as well. Yes, this is actually only for online students. So if you are not an online student, then you should not be in this orientation. You should probably get off the call and then email me and let me know that you are not an online student, because this is the degree plan for online students, and everyone in this call should be part of our online program, our 26-month program. So I wanted to give you an idea of, I know that you're online students and that some of you probably will never set foot on our physical campus, but I figured you should know what it looks like. So this is a picture of the School of Social Work's physical building located on our Arlington campus here at UTA. We are actually located in a historic building. We're located in the old Arlington High School, which was built around the turn of the 20th century. So if you live in another part of Texas and you make it to the Metroplex for a visit, I hope that you'll consider stopping by and popping your head in and visiting our campus, because we would love to show you around and welcome you in a physical sense to campus as well. That said, you don't ever have to step on campus if you are an online student. We have all of our services available to you, and there's no reason you should ever have to come to campus, with the exception of coming to graduation, which I hope you will consider doing, and bringing your families and your support people to watch you graduate and walk across that stage in person, because there's nothing like it. So our dean is Dr. Scott Ryan. Our associate dean is Dr. Deborah Woody. And as I said before, I'm the MSW director and the director of graduate programs, and my name is Dr. Diane Mitschke. The first thing I'd like to encourage you to do as new graduate students is to really get connected. Get connected with the school and get connected with the School of Social Work as well as the UTA. We have a huge presence on social media, and you can find links to get connected with us on our main webpage. If you just go to uta.edu/SSW for School of Social Work, you will see links to all of these different platforms where you can get connected and stay in touch. We post a lot of great stories about the work that our students are doing in the community. We post about research projects that our faculty are working on, and it's just a really great way to see what's going on in the school, and be proud of you know, what we're doing here and what you're a part of. I would also encourage you to consider downloading the UTA mobile app, which is a free app from the App Store that you can download to your smartphone. It also has kind of news reports about the school and the university in local media. It talks about events that are happening, and there are tons of pictures and things like that. So just another way to kind of get connected and stay in touch. We are ranked number 22 in the nation for most affordable MSW programs, which is one of the rankings that I think we're most proud of, because I know that graduate school is a huge investment, and we want to make sure that we are not only competitive, but that we're providing you with a really good return on your investment, so that when you go out into the workforce, you're ready to start your career and ready to really use this education that you've paid for in the best way possible. And so we're proud about our affordability. We're also ranked number 1 in Texas for veteran friendliness. So whether you're a veteran or an active duty military member, or just know someone who is, know that we are a good place for you, and that we do a lot to support veterans and active duty military in both our own School of Social Work as well as in the larger university community. There are lots of support services available. We're really also very excited about this last ranking, which we ranked number 3 among all MSW programs in the country, by graduateprograms.com, and this ranking is actually specific to our online program, which you're a part of. So you can be really proud of that fact, that you are really joining the ranks of a very elite program, in the sense that number 3 among online MSW programs is a pretty exciting thing to be a part of. So all of that to say, I think you've really made a good decision in where you've chosen to go to graduate school. I think graduate school is an exciting time in your life to be able to really engage at a deeper level in an area that you're passionate about. Graduate school will really provide you with expertise in the area of working with children and families. So whether you're interested, for example, in crisis intervention or trauma-informed services, whether you're interested in working in child care, child protective services, or adoption and foster care, or school social work, domestic violence. You know, the possibilities are really endless because we as social workers interact with children and families in everything that we do. And it's such a crucial part of the real fabric of our society that, that I'm excited for you in this opportunity to really engage in some hands-on learning about how to make a difference and change the world. And we do that by starting with the children. We have a number of student support services that are available to you as graduate students. We have a large advising office that can provide kind of crisis counseling as well as academic support. In addition, we offer career counseling. We have a number of different resources that are available within our school as well as within the larger university to support you. If you find yourself struggling, if you find yourself with questions and you really aren't sure where to go, we've got answers for you. And so I would encourage you, I have this link on the screen, and what I will do also is when I send you the recording of this video, I will also send you this link. It's a video of Miss Patrice Green, who is our coordinator of our Office of Advising and Student Success. And she goes through briefly all of the different support services that we have in place for you here at the school. It's about a 10-minute video, and I encourage you to watch it so that you can familiarize yourself with really what we have here to support you on your journey here in graduate school. Because it's really our job as a school, both my job and Patrice and the advisor's job, to support you on this journey to make sure that you're successful and to make sure that you get what you need to walk across that stage in August of 2020 and ready to really launch your career. Our Office of Advising and Student Success currently has 3 MSW providers that are focused on the MSW program. As I mentioned before, Patrice Green, Tiara Thomas, and Mauricia Davis are our academic advisors. And hopefully you've already connected with one of them to start talking about getting enrolled in your classes. I will say that I know some of you have had some issues getting registered because classes have been full or you've been put on waiting lists, things like that. I want to assure you that as a cohort student, you are guaranteed a space in each of the classes that are listed on your degree plan. So there is not any question that you will actually get enrolled in the classes you need as part of your cohort degree plan. I understand it can be somewhat frustrating because the process is sometimes slower than we want. But please be patient. I promise we'll work it out. Be in communication with your advisor and we'll get it figured out for you. I see a question from Crystal. So Crystal, yes, as part of the cohort, you need to be taking 3 classes this fall semester. I would encourage you to reach out to your academic advisor. If you want to be a part of this cohort, the requirement is that you enroll in those 3 classes listed on the degree plan. If you'd rather switch to our part-time cohort, we do have that option available to you as well. You can either email me after the call or reach out to your academic advisor to talk through those options. All right, so moving on, we're going to go here to, I wanted to kind of walk through what it's like to find your textbooks, because I know some of you are starting to get concerned about how this works. And so I wanted to share with you this screenshot. This is actually a screenshot from the UTA bookstore. You can get to this page simply by going to the main UTA webpage, which is uta.edu, and then /bookstore. So pretty easy. You click on books and you'll be shown this screen. And what you can see is that if you enter your student ID number in the box, which starts with 100, it should start with 100 and then the rest of the digits, it will actually populate with the courses that you're currently enrolled in, and then it will show you the required textbooks for your classes, and you can go ahead and register for those, and then you will be able to be all set with that. So I'm sorry, I got distracted. So I'm going to ask one favor, and if you guys could hold off on your questions on the chat until the end of the call, that way I can answer those and kind of focus on this part. I may actually answer some of the questions you have as we move forward. So unless it's very urgent, if you could just hold off on those questions, because I'm having a hard time focusing on both at the same time. So forgive me. Anyway, so what I was trying to say was that you can go ahead, look at your textbooks that you need for your classes. You can order them directly from UTA's bookstore, or you can see what books you need and then look at, you know, finding them for cheaper somewhere else online. One thing I will mention, though, is that the bookstore is willing to price match. So if you are able to find a textbook that you need for a cheaper price, you can actually show that to the bookstore and they will match that price if you want to go ahead and buy them from the UTA bookstore. So the next thing I wanted to just mention to you was Blackboard. And Blackboard is the course management system where we are, that we use here at UTA to manage all of your course materials. So I know that some of you are already familiar with Blackboard. Maybe you graduated from UTA and used Blackboard in your classes already. Maybe some of you are coming from a different university where you also used it. But for those of you who haven't used Blackboard before, I wanted to share with you some just real practical tips and screenshots so that you know how to get started and prepare for your classes. This is the main page that you'll see when you log into Blackboard, and you can see just from this that there are a number of different tutorials that you can watch about how to get started within Blackboard. Things like posting, how to learn how to post onto the discussion board, how to submit an assignment, video tutorials about those kinds of things. Also a lot of frequently asked questions. So I would start there. We still have some time before the semester starts. So I would take maybe an hour or so before the semester starts and kind of just browse through some of this, familiarize yourself with what Blackboard is like so that on the first day of class, you'll be ready to go and you'll be prepared and know how to use Blackboard. This is a screenshot from a class that I taught last semester because I wanted to show you kind of what you'll see when you log into your classes. So once you log into a particular class that you're registered for, you should see on your screen on the left-hand side of the menu, you'll see a bunch of different kind of menu options, and those are how you navigate through the course. In the middle part of your screen, you should see an announcements panel, and this is where your instructor will post reminders or announcements, things that are kind of pressing and urgent. So this should come up for you right when you log into your course, any new announcements. If we navigate using these tabs then on the left-hand side of the screen, one of the most important ones is the Course Materials tab, because this is where you get to the content in your course. So if you clicked on Course Materials, you would see a whole bunch of separate modules or folders. And these folders are what contain your content for any given week of the semester. And if we dig down a little bit deeper and click on one of those, you will see that within those folders, there are a number of different categories that contain the materials that you'll be reviewing for that particular week's content. So there may be readings, for example, articles that you need to read or assignments from the textbook. There will be lecture materials. There would be links where you would go and explore different websites that are of particular relevance to your topic that week. There's a link to the discussion board where you will be prompted to participate in a discussion online with your peers about a particular topic for the week. And then there's additional content where your professor might post additional things that they think were interesting or not required but relevant to that particular topic. So that's kind of what, in general, what your course will look like. Each class will look a little bit different, but they're typically structured in this way. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for you to be able to access and use your UTA email daily. So if you haven't already, please go ahead and download your email to your phone so that you can access it on a regular basis. That's going to be real important for you in terms of making sure you you are able, okay guys, sorry, one more time. So if you guys can stay off the chat until we get to the end of the call, I promise that I will address your questions, but it would be really helpful because every time you chat, it pops up for everyone and it's a little bit distracting. So if you could go ahead and stay off the chat until we get to the end, I promise that we'll get through this faster and then we can answer any questions that you have. So anyway, I was saying that I need you to make sure that you download your email to your phone so that you can go ahead and make sure you're checking that regularly. So you will also be added to the listserv for the MSW students so that you will get things like scholarship announcements and deadlines, information about registering for different programs and classes, and just in general events that are happening that we feel like are relevant to you and you might be interested in. We also have a number of library and writing resources, and these are really helpful for you as graduate students because you will be tasked with doing a lot of writing. That's just part of it in graduate school. We have a number of library services that are available to you, and one of the most important things about our library is that we do have a dedicated social work librarian. Her name is Brooke Troutman, and she is really fantastic because she can be kind of your right-hand person. If you are assigned a topic to do some research on, if you're assigned a paper that needs a literature review, and you just don't know how to get started, you can reach out to Brooke, and she can point you to the databases you need. She can also point you to particular journals that might be relevant to your topic area and kind of get you launched in the right direction. Most students who have worked with Brooke have said she's incredibly useful in terms of helping them to really get started and pointed in a direction that they can be successful in writing their research papers. So please reach out to her if you have any questions about that. The library is full of thousands and thousands of resources, but I know it can be a bit overwhelming to sift through all of it, and sometimes it just helps to have someone kind of guide you through that process. There are also some tutorials that are available through the library, namely one about using APA style, which is the writing style that we use in social work. So if you're not familiar with APA, I would encourage you to go ahead and take that tutorial, or maybe you just need a refresher. I've found that it's very helpful. It starts out pretty basic, but then it gets pretty advanced as it goes along. You also may want to take the tutorial on plagiarism. We take plagiarism very seriously here, and often students get tripped up simply because they don't know how to cite their sources well. And so having a refresher on what plagiarism really is and how to avoid it can be a really good way to get you on the right track for graduate school. So I recommend those two things for sure. As I said, you're going to be doing a lot of writing in graduate school, and so we have some support services for you specific to those tasks. One is the University Writing Center. This is the writing center that's housed by all of UTA, right? So it's accessed by all departments. It's staffed mostly by graduate students in the English department, and they can help with things like reviewing drafts for grammar issues, sentence structure, making sure that your argument is clear and makes sense. One of the things they cannot do, though, is help you with APA style, because English majors use MLA, which is a different style of writing, and it's pretty different than APA. So you won't be able to get help from them in terms of making sure your paper is adhering to APA guidelines. But we do have an in-house resource for that, and that is our writing resource coordinator. His name is Dr. Chris Kilgore, and he works full-time here in the School of Social Work, and he helps students with all of their writing-related needs. So, as I said, he can help you with APA style, but he can also help you kind of at any stage of the writing process. So if you're assigned, for example, a paper and you're just not sure how to get started, you can meet with Dr. Kilgore either by email or by video conference or by phone and talk through, you know, the topic for your paper, and he can kind of help you brainstorm and create an outline so that you can get on the right track and get your paper started. If at any stage as you're writing your paper, you want to reach out to Dr. Kilgore to get his feedback, you know, you're not sure if what you're saying is making sense or is in the right order, those kinds of things, he can give you feedback about that. And again, he can also give you feedback about things like sentence structure, grammar, things like that, things to look out for in your own writing. He also does presentations at various points in the semester for particular writing assignments. So for example, in your policy class, you'll be tasked with doing a formal policy analysis. Dr. Kilgore will actually do a large group virtual presentation where he will talk about how to develop your plan for writing your policy analysis, as well as talking about any kind of pitfalls he's seen students fall into so that you can avoid those in writing your analysis. So I think you can probably tell from what I've said that I'm a huge fan of Dr. Kilgore. I think it's pretty special that we have a full-time writing resource coordinator on our staff in the School of Social Work. I think that's unique to our school. I don't know of any other school of social work in the country that is able to provide that service to its students. And so I hope that you'll reach out to him and really use that service that we're providing to you as you begin writing in your classes. I did want to briefly talk about licensing, because licensing is something that most students have questions about as they enter graduate school, and specifically the MSW program, because it can be, I guess, a little bit confusing. So I wanted to clarify that when you graduate from our program, you will graduate with a degree, the MSW degree. That will actually make you eligible to sit for the first licensing exam, which is called the LMSW. About 2/3 of social work employers require a license, so not everyone becomes licensed. But I would say that most graduates of our program do go ahead and sit and pass that LMSW exam. And then there's another type of license, the LCSW, which comes after the LMSW. So I'm going to show you kind of what the difference is between those. So as I was saying, the LMSW is an exam that you can take right after you graduate. You can actually apply for it in your final semester, and go ahead and you kind of fill out an application, you send in your transcript and that sort of thing, and then you get permission from the board to actually sit for the exam, and you do that at a local testing center in your area. If you pass that exam, you become a licensed MSW, and you're good to go. Some students decide that they want to take a prep class, and that's really kind of just a personal decision. It's up to you. We can recommend different prep classes. Other students feel like they don't really need a prep class and they're prepared to take the exam, you know, on their own. But anyway, kind of just your call. So the LMSW, like I said, is kind of the first license you can get. Some social workers then, once they get their LMSW, they decide they want to pursue clinical practice. And, oh, I'm sorry, I accidentally skipped the slide. So we're still on this one. So in terms of looking at clinical practice, this kind of means that you, for your career and your employment, are focused on wanting to diagnose and treat mental illness. And so if you decide that that's what you want to do, then you would need to get an employment position where you are actually doing clinical social work under the supervision of an LCSW. Typically, for most people, that means 24 months or 2 years of full-time employment in a clinical setting that's been approved by the board. And basically, after you get those 24 months of full-time employment and you're supervised by an approved supervisor, you can go ahead and apply for the LCSW exam, which works in a similar way. You know, you take the test at a local testing center, and at that point, you can become licensed as an LCSW. At that point, you would be eligible to practice independently. And what I mean by that is that you independently can diagnose and treat mental illness. So sometimes when someone says, I want to go out and hang my own shingle, you know, a person might want to start their own private practice as a social worker and take insurance and that sort of thing, then you would need your LCSW to be able to do that. So hopefully that kind of clarifies the licensing questions. But again, if you have more questions about licensing, I'm happy to answer them at the end of this presentation. I did also want to talk a little bit about research, because as graduate students, you really have an opportunity to engage in research. You'll take 2 different research classes as part of your MSW program. A foundation research class, and then later an advanced research class. But in addition to that, you have the opportunity to apply for what we call graduate research assistantships. And these are also called GRAs. And these are basically opportunities for you to work either 10 or 20 hours a week for a faculty member who is actively engaged in a funded research project. And you would work with them on their particular research project as a research assistant. So that's one opportunity that we do have available for master's students. Another opportunity you have is to consider doing a thesis. So a thesis would take the place of the last course in our program called Integrative Seminar. And a thesis would allow you to be able to design and conduct your own research study on a topic that you're interested in under the direction of one of our faculty members here. The thesis is something that takes place the last 2 semesters of your enrollment. And so you have a little bit of time to consider whether that might be a good option for you. But if you're interested in research, or you're interested in maybe pursuing a topic at a deeper level, or developing relationships with our research faculty, then I would urge you to consider this option. I'm happy to talk with you individually about what it involves, or you can reach out to Dr. Holly Slater in the Office of Research. But it's a really good opportunity as a graduate student to kind of get more hands-on experience in the research process, if that's something you're interested in. Just as an example, I was the supervisor for 3 students who finished their thesis this summer. 2 of them did research on the refugee resettlement experience. That's actually my research area. And so because they shared that research area and interest, they reached out to me. One of them did a study about Syrian families and what experiences they had had in the past year in facing challenges and in adapting to life in the United States. And another student looked at Afghan women, looking at special immigrant visa holders and how these Afghan women used religion as a coping strategy in managing their stress. And finally, I worked with another student who was interested in food insecurity, looking at what college campuses offer to students who are facing food insecurity. So college students who don't have enough food, how are campuses addressing that problem and finding out that students are not getting enough to eat, and what are they doing about it? So just, you can see that really there is a lot of variety in terms of the kinds of studies that you can do. We have a huge faculty, all of which are engaged in practice and in research. And so there are a number of faculty that are bound to share your interests in terms of what you'd like to pursue. And so as I said before, Dr. Slater or myself can kind of point you to those faculty and get you talking and get you connected if that's something you want to do. So looking ahead, and I know you're just starting your MSW and this sounds kind of crazy, and I recognize that, but some of you may be interested in pursuing even more education after you get your MSW. And so I just wanted to put a little tiny bit in your ear about our PhD program. You may, if you're really interested in research and you find that this is something you might want to pursue even further, a PhD is an option. And if that's something you'd like to learn more about, please reach out to me and I can hook you up with our PhD program director as well as some of our current students to talk about what it's like to be a PhD student, and you can kind of ask questions and get some more feedback about whether or not you think it might be a good path for you. A DSW is also something to consider longer term, and that is basically a clinical doctorate. So if you see yourself developing real specialized clinical expertise and practice, then you may consider getting a clinical doctorate or a DSW. I do expect that we will be starting a DSW program within the next couple of years, so it may be an option for you later down the road if that's something you want to pursue. We have a number of student organizations available to you. We have every one of our student organizations includes both online and face-to-face students, and all of the meetings are shared virtually in real time so that you can participate as an online student just as fully as a face-to-face student might. So these are some of the organizations that we have available now. I do think that we'll be adding a couple more as the fall semester gets started. The Social Work Council is kind of our main social work student organization. It's basically our advocacy body, and anyone can be a member. You don't have to be elected or anything like that, but it's a good one to be involved in, just to kind of stay in touch with what's going on in the school, and to have your voice be heard by the administration of the school in case there are changes you want to have happen. The Social Work Health Organization, I know, has some leadership opportunities available. So if you are interested in social work and healthcare, I know you are children and families as your specialty, but I know that many of you probably are also interested in gerontology and health and all different aspects of social work practice. You know, membership in these organizations is not limited to a specific specialty area. So it's also a possibility in terms of becoming involved in that one. Students for Global Change is for students who are interested in international social work issues. Some of these students are interested in pursuing international social work after they graduate. Some of them are going into the Peace Corps or even into AmeriCorps. And some of the students are interested in international issues here at home, for example, issues surrounding immigrants and refugees. So they do a lot of visible work in the community. And so it's kind of an exciting organization to be a part of as well, I would say. The Gerontology organization is for students who are interested in working with older adults. It's probably our most active organization. They have a great leadership team, and they do a whole lot of different activities, and they have a lot of different speakers that come in and present about different topics related to older adults, and different kind of networking opportunities for careers in gerontology. And finally, the Phi Alpha Honor Society is a national social work honor society, and it is available to students with a certain GPA. So in the spring semester, you will see an email announcement go out that will ask for applications to the Honor Society, and you can see whether you met the criteria based on your fall GPA, and see if you can go ahead and apply in the spring semester. If not, then you can wait until the next enrollment period, which would be the following fall. Anyway, it's a great organization to be involved in because it's good on your resume. Also, it allows you to wear special honor cords at graduation, which always makes you feel special. So those are just some of our organizations. Like I said, I do think we're going to have a couple more launch this fall, so be on the lookout for that. Announcements about all of these organizations and their meeting times will go out on the listserv soon after the first week of class. Okay, we're coming to the final part of this formal presentation, which is the field education section. And so I'm going to briefly go over kind of what our field education component is like, and hopefully answer any questions at the end about that you may have about the field process or how to get started getting prepared for field. So in social work, we feel like the field education piece of the educational puzzle is a really important one, because you have the opportunity to go out into an agency and practice what you're learning in the classroom in a real life social work setting. And you have the opportunity to do that over the course of 4 semesters, which is really fantastic because it gets you that real life experience, and it also helps you network with social workers out in the field so that you are really set up when you graduate to launch your career. Many of our students are actually hired by their supervisor at their field placement to go on and start their career at their particular agency. Other students develop connections and are able to find leads to go ahead and launch their career in a related field. So it's an exciting opportunity, and it's really an opportunity for growth for you. So to help you in the field process, we have several different people that you should become familiar with. Our Assistant Dean of Field Education is Dr. Donetta Smith. And then we have 3 different advisors that assist with your field placement process. We have Amy Lopez, who is our advanced MSW field advisor. So she would be a person you might work with in your second field placement, to find your second field placement. Natalie Mangum is our foundation MSW field advisor. So she will be the person you'll be in contact with in terms of your first field placement and kind of getting that launched. And then finally, Ronnie Robinette is another one of our advanced MSW advisors, and she works specifically with students who live outside of the DFW area, helping them to connect with potential placements and get them situated in a placement that works for them. So if you are I know all of you are online students, but if you live in the DFW Metroplex, your process will be a little bit different for field than if you live outside of the Metroplex. But regardless, we will assist you with the field placement process and kind of walk you through what that looks like. We also have an administrative assistant, Susan Terry, and a general inquiries email address. So if you have any general questions about field, you can either call or email that directly, and we'll get your questions answered. I wanted to just show these core competencies. These are basically the tenets of what we feel like social workers need to be able to do when they are graduating from our program. And these are actually developed by the Council on Social Work Education, which is our national accrediting body. So the neat thing about this is that any social work program across the country, no matter where you would go to get your MSW, you would be focused on developing competency in each of these core areas. And that's kind of what ties all of us together as schools of social work across the country, is that when you graduate, you will be able to say that you are competent in each of these different core areas. Your field placement is really where you start to demonstrate that competency. And so that's really the whole point of field, is for you to be able to work on your expertise and ability in each of these areas. And by the end of your field placement, you'll be able to demonstrate that you've mastered each of these areas and are competent to move forward. Once again, you have to check your MAVS email. I know I've already said it. You'll probably hear it 3 more times before you start the program, but this is really going to be the way that we communicate with you. I know that some of you are still getting emails to your personal account right now in terms of like when you got your orientation email, for example. That's because we don't start officially moving to your MAVS email until you are enrolled in classes and the semester has started. So once that semester starts, know that the only way we're going to communicate with you from that point forward is really through your MAVS email. So you'll need to make sure that you are able to check it regularly, because it's very important in terms of making sure that you meet the deadlines you need to meet to stay on track with your cohort. So as I had mentioned when I showed you your degree plan at the beginning, you're going to take classes this fall and this spring, and you won't be in field yet. But starting in the summer semester, this first summer of 19, you will go into your first field placement. And that's what we call our foundation placement. In order to enter field, you have to have a grade point average of 3.0 or better. So 3.0 is a B average. So that means if you make a C in one of your classes, you would need to get an A in another class to balance out that C. In order to move forward with field and stay on track with your cohort, though, you have to have a 3.0. In terms of your prerequisites for your foundation, you will be ready to apply for your foundation field placement after you have finished 3 of our foundation classes, 5301, 5304, and 5306. And if you look back at your degree plan, you'll see that we've structured it so that you're finished with those 3 classes by the time you are ready to start your foundation field placement next summer. So the way that foundation field works is that you will be doing a minimum of 480 hours. If you choose to do a split placement, which is what I would say about 80 to 90% of our students choose a split placement, and that means that you would do 240 hours the first semester and 240 hours the second semester. And the first semester, you will actually have a seminar that will accompany your field placement. And the seminar is where you'll actually participate in a class that will address, things that are going on in field. You'll meet with other students to talk about any kind of conflicts you're having in field and kind of work through problems. And then that second semester of field, you will not have that seminar. So the seminar just comes with the first semester of field, if that makes sense. If you choose to do a block placement, that's also an option for you, although I said it's the minority of students that decide to do a block placement simply because it's a lot to take on to do 480 hours in one semester. But if you're not working or if your schedule is such that you just want to cram it all into one semester, you can do your foundation field in one semester. And in that case, you would register for both 5681 and 5281. So anyway, that's kind of what that looks like. And so hopefully that is clear. If you have questions about that as we move forward at the end, please ask them, because I know that understanding how the field process works can be a little bit confusing. So in addition to foundation field, you'll do a second field placement. And this will follow your foundation placement. So you'll do 2 semesters in foundation field, and then you'll move on to do your final 2 semesters in your advanced field placement. In order to start your advanced field placement, you'll have finished all of your foundation coursework, and then you'll also have taken your advanced micro practice and your direct practice with children and families class, and then you'll be set up. So again, according to your degree plan, we've got it all lined out for you so that you will be set to enter your advanced placement right on time as a cohort. To give you an example of what your children and families placement might look like, you're going to be developing specialized expertise in working with children who have faced traumatic events, working with children who are perhaps experiencing difficulties, whether in their home or in school. And so you're going to really learn how to work with children and their families on problem solving, right? At its essence. So you could be placed in a school setting. You could be in foster care and adoption, for example. Some students choose to go into child protective services or family crisis intervention. We do have, placements at domestic violence shelters. We also have placements at homeless shelters, so kind of any number of placements. Obviously, any place that children and families are found are a potential placement for you as a social work student. But I did want to point out that hospitals, for the most part, are not permitted with the children and families placement option, and that is because our hospital placements are reserved for our students who are focusing on health. So if you have your heart set on a children's hospital, for example, I would encourage you to reach out to one of our advisors in our field office and just talk with them about that. There may be a few exceptions, but for the most part, my understanding is that children and families specializers are not typically placed in hospital settings. Moving on then to your advanced field placement, it looks like this slide may have gotten out of order. Anyway, you'll do either a split field placement, as I said, or a block field placement. So it's similar to your foundation field placement in terms of 240 hours each semester for at least 480 with the split, or a block placement of 480 hours in one semester. And just to give you an idea of really kind of what that looks like in real life, it typically means that you are going to your field placement about between 16 to 18 hours a week in a split field placement. And in a block field placement, that's more like 35 hours a week. So it kind of changes depending on the semester, but you can kind of get an idea of why most students choose to do a split placement rather than a block. You need to start thinking now about what it's going to take for you to be able to do a field placement. I know that many of you are probably working, either full-time or part-time. Many of you probably have families and other kinds of responsibilities that you juggle. And we recognize that field is a big commitment. You need to know that while we do have some placements that offer hours at night and on the weekends, we really don't have any placements that would allow you to exclusively work at night or on the weekends. So you almost always would have to come in to the office for your field placement at least one day during the normal work week, during normal work hours. And that's basically to meet with other staff and to have supervision meetings and things like that. So I know that that's going to be a challenge for many of you in terms of figuring out how you're going to work this in to your life. And so that's why I'm telling you that it's really important to start thinking about this now, because you have almost a whole year to plan. So you need to start thinking about talking with your employer, talking with your family, seeing what changes you're going to need to make to be able to make field be successful for you starting next summer. The other thing that, so I kind of want to go over just the logistics of then how do you go about applying for field. Again, you're not going to have to worry about this until the spring semester, because that's when you'll get an email from the field office saying the application window has opened for students who are interested in doing a summer field placement, and that's you. So when you get that email from the field office, you'll know that it's time to go ahead and put in your application for field. You'll fill out all the sections of the application, and then once it's completed, you'll submit it. Um, and then it will be reviewed by the field office. So you'll apply for 2 different internships, right? So you'll do a foundation internship for 2 semesters, and then following that, you'll do an advanced internship. And so you apply for both of those separately since they follow each other. In addition to the application, you also need to purchase liability insurance. This is basically to protect you in case something went wrong at your placement and you or the agency got sued. You would have professional liability insurance to protect you from those accusations. And so the cost is between $30 and $50, and on the field website, which is part of our School of Social Work website, you just click on field. It provides links to different vendors that offer professional liability insurance. You'll simply purchase your insurance from one of those vendors and then forward the certificate of insurance to the field office along with your application, and you will be good to go to be approved for a placement. Now, if you are living outside the DFW area, you will apply the same way that I just talked about, but you will also need to review the list of placements that we have outside of the Metroplex to see if there is an agency that is already affiliated with us that you would like to pursue your field placement at. And if there is, then great. You will work with Natalie Mangum for your foundation placement to arrange that agreement and to start your field placement in whatever city you're located in across the state. If you are located in the DFW Metroplex, the field office will actually find your agency for you and match you. So you have less work to do, but also kind of less say in what your placement is. So there's kind of a give and take. That said, if there is a particular agency that you are interested in doing your placement at, please reach out to the field office and they will let you know if we have a current agreement on file with that agency, and if not, what steps you might need to take if you wanted to pursue that opportunity. So in terms of what the field assignment process looks like, you would actually submit your application, as I already said, and your certificate of insurance. And then once you do that, the field office will assign you an agency. You'll then receive an email from the field office that will tell you to contact that agency to have an interview with them. If the agency likes you and you like them, then they will accept you in eIntern, and then you will in turn accept them. If you are not accepted for whatever reason, it could be that the hours don't work with what you are needing, or it could be that it just doesn't seem like a good fit, then the agency will decline you an eIntern and you'll go back to the initial process of being assigned a new agency. So that's kind of what that looks like. And then in terms of kind of your advocates here at the school for your field placement, you'll be working closely with what we call a field liaison. And this is a person who is assigned to work with you, who is your instructor of record with UTA. So it's an employee of UTA who will kind of be the go-between person between the school and you and the field instructor. So they will review your midterm evaluations and make sure there aren't any problems that are happening at your internship and help you address any concerns that are identified. They will also review and sign your timesheet that you'll use to keep track of your hours as they accumulate. And they'll also review and sign your learning contract. So you'll meet with your field instructor, the person at your agency, to develop the tasks that will be appropriate for you in your internship and make sure that they align with those core competencies I talked about earlier. Your field liaison then is responsible for reviewing that and making sure that everything looks right. They'll also be the one that will do your final evaluation and assign you your course grade. If there are ever any problems, they're also a real important part of managing conflict. So in terms of if there were a problem or an issue that were to arise in your field placement, you'd first contact your field instructor, the person at your agency that you're working with. If the conflict kind of escalates or you can't work it out, you'll reach out to your field liaison, and that person will serve kind of as a mediator between you and your field instructor to address the issue that's at hand. After that point, your field advisor might become involved, and as I said before, that would be Natalie Mangham at the foundation level. And then after that point, if things are still not resolved, it would go up to the Assistant Dean of Field Education, Dr. Johnetta Smith. Your responsibility as a student in field and both in the classroom is to abide by the NASW and State of Texas Codes of Ethics. If you've met with your advisor already, you should have been given a link to review the Code of Ethics and to make sure that you're familiar with it and that you have agreed to abide by it while you're a student in the program. It's our professional code of conduct. You will also agree to accept supervision and critical feedback from your field instructor. This is a learning process, and you're a student, and so it's important that you're able to kind of accept that feedback and learn from it. That you'll first contact your field instructor, as I talked about before, if there's a problem, and then reach out to your field liaison. And that you'll submit your timesheets and supervision logs on time to your field liaison. Your field instructor will be the one to do a midterm and a final evaluation on you, and it's just your job to help them remember to do that and to turn them in on time. You'll also be given the opportunity to complete an evaluation about your agency and learning experience so that we can identify any potential issues or any great placements so that we can even improve our program moving forward and making sure it's the best that it can be. All important dates are posted on the field calendar, which is located on the School of Social Work website under Field. It has dates about when the application windows will open and close, as well as when you can start your field placement and when you have to finish it at the end of the semester. So it's just a good resource for you as you move through the program. All right, so I've put my contact information. You've all received an email from me already, but I have it here again for you in case you misplaced it. Also, Ginger Jackson is my MSW program assistant, and she can provide assistance to you if there are any kind of logistical questions you have. You can reach out to her as well as me, and we'll kind of assist you with whatever it is we can do to help you. So that is all I have for the final, for the formal presentation. I appreciate your interest and your attention as I got through those slides, because I know it was a whole lot of information and a lot of new information for you. And so now I'd like to switch gears a little bit and answer any questions that you might have for me. And I'd like to do that via the chat feature here. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and pull up the questions that were already asked during the call. So I have a question from Kanisha, who says, I'm on the waiting list for a class and now I'm classified as a part-time student. When will I know that I am enrolled as a full-time student? Yeah, so what I would suggest is simply staying in touch with your your academic advisor, we are actually in the process of adding more classes each day because we do have some students that are on waiting lists for particular classes. So I expect that to be resolved. If not by the end of this week, certainly by midweek next week, that you will be enrolled in all of the classes that you need before, obviously before the first day of class. But we should be able to get that taken care of pretty quickly. So, and that will bump your enrollment up to full-time student status, because full-time student status for a graduate student is 9 hours. I have a question from Erica who says, do you suggest ordering used or new textbooks? So my suggestion as far as this goes would be that it really doesn't matter. One thing that you might pay attention to, though, is whether or not the edition of the textbook is current, because sometimes if you order a used textbook and it's not the current edition, you may be missing chapters, or the page numbers may be different, which can kind of be a pain and a little bit confusing. The one thing I would suggest for you, and I know this is kind of a hard one, but I would really strongly urge you to buy your textbooks rather than rent them. And the reason for that is because you will find, I think, as you move forward through the program, that you're probably going to want to refer back to some of your textbooks in some of your classes. And so especially if you are not going to do a thesis and you're going to enroll in integrative seminar, it's going to be really important that you hold on to your textbooks, because you're going to need books in that final class, which we call a capstone class. You'll write a big paper in that class, and you'll need to rely on some of your textbooks that you've used throughout the program. So please go ahead. Says, I'm enrolled in classes, but they have yet to pop up on Blackboard. Is this an issue for anyone else? Yes. So you do not, you probably are not going to see your classes show up on Blackboard until at least that was so strange. I lost my connection all of a sudden. Okay, let me make sure that we're still good here. Wow. I have never had that happen before. Okay. Wow. Okay. So if someone can shoot me a message in the chat so that I can make sure you're still here, that would be great. You're here. Okay. That was so strange. I don't know what happened. Okay. So it looks like, unfortunately, I lost the existing chat. So If you guys, I'm so sorry. That is so odd. So if you will go ahead, if you had posted a question on the chat that I haven't answered yet, will you please post it again? Because I am no longer able to see those questions anymore. That was very strange. So I'm getting a couple of you that said they didn't get the question about Blackboard answered. So what I had been saying was that you will, yes, okay. So you should have, I'm surprised that some of you are saying you don't have access to Blackboard. So the way you log into Blackboard is simply by putting in your net ID and password, and then you should be able to log into the general Blackboard screen. If you're not able to get that general Blackboard screen, then and you already have your net ID and password, then I would say you probably need to email the help desk and ask them about why your login is not working. And that would be just by emailing helpdesk@uta.edu. But if the issue is that you just don't see your classes listed on Blackboard yet, then that is not a problem. The reason for that is that your professors are still working on developing your classes, and they probably won't be posting those till probably later next week or even the first day of class. So check on the first day of class. If you still don't see your class listed there on Blackboard, then I would go ahead and email your instructor and let them know, hey, you know, I don't see your class listed on my Blackboard account. Have you opened it up yet? But don't fret about that quite yet. Okay, so let's see what other questions you have. I have, let's see, are we required to get the meningitis shot? So you should, if you need the meningitis shot, you should have gotten an email from the university saying that. I think the rule is that if you are 21 or under, you need the meningitis shot before you can start classes, which I know is kind of weird since you're online students, but that is my understanding. Again, I wouldn't worry too much about it unless you got an email from you as not having gotten a meningitis. So who do I need to contact if I'm interested in a hospital field place? And that's from Lillian. So Lillian, what I would say is that you need to, you are in Children and Families, which is going to be a stretch for you to get a hospital placement. I do think that it's worth reaching out to our field office. You would just contact any of the advisors in our field office. I might point you toward who you could email your question to and kind of explain your situation and see what she says about a hospital placement. I got Chloe who says, will you still be emailing a copy of the recording to us? Absolutely, I will. Do not fret. You will get a link to this recording and you'll be able to watch it forever and ever. Do we receive an email about how to get in contact with student organizations you mentioned? Yes, absolutely. You are now added to the MSW listserv. So I would say within the first 2 weeks after the fall semester starts, you'll be getting emails from the leaders of the different student organizations letting you know about their meetings and giving you their contact information so that you can email them if you would like to join or learn more about their organization. So look for that. I would say within the first 2 weeks after classes start, you should see that. Let's see, Alexandria says, does the book match rentals as well? I am not sure about that one. I would say probably not, but I would think that would be a better question for the bookstore. She also asks, is the licensing transferable to other states? So it depends. So you are getting your MSW degree in Texas, and we are absolutely certain that we meet all the requirements for licensing in the state of Texas. We also meet requirements for most other states, but again, it's really up to you as a student to reach out to whatever state you're interested in moving to be licensed in. That responsibility really falls on you as a student to talk to other states' licensing boards to find out what their requirements are and how they match with ours. We do have a number of students who get licensed here in Texas and then move somewhere else, and they're able to transfer their license pretty easily. Other students, there are a couple of states that are pretty difficult. For example, I know off the top of my head that Florida has some kind of weird requirements, and so we've had a couple of students that have ended up having to, when they move to Florida, take an additional short continuing education class or something like that to meet the requirements for licensing in Florida. So it's really up to you as a student or as a social worker eventually to see what those licensing requirements are in the other state you're interested in going to. And then finally, can we get paid by our field placement? Not typically. We do have a very small percentage of field placements that offer a small stipend to students, but in general, no, field placements are not paid. I will say also, though, that we do have a special program for students who are interested in pursuing a career with Child Protective Services. And so and that's a competitive stipend program for students who are sure they want to go into CPS and commit to CPS. If that's something that's of interest to you, we have information about that program on our website. Just click on the Center for Child Welfare, and there's information about the stipend program there. And as children and family students, it may be something that some of you are interested in. So I would encourage you to learn more about that if that's something you think you want to pursue. And that does pay a pretty decent stipend as part of your internship. Let's see. Is it correct that our total field placement hours is 960? So if that's 480 plus 480, then yes. So yes, you will do one placement that's 480 hours, and then an advanced placement that's an additional 480 hours. Okay, let's see. Does the bookstore price match rentals? I got that one, sorry. Will we get any detailed information on what the field placement work looks like in the different types of agencies before we have to choose a field placement? So not really. I will say that one of the things to consider is that your first field placement, your foundation field placement, is going to be more generalist. So you'll have the opportunity in your first field placement to work at both a micro level, meaning working with individual clients, as well as a macro level, so doing some planning or community work, things like that within the agency. But you could be really in any kind of setting for your foundation placement. Your advanced placement is the more specialized one, and that's the one where you have a little bit more say in where you go and what you do at your internship. And so I would say that for the most part, your advanced placement is really where you'll get a little bit more choice in terms of, hey, this is really what I'm interested in doing for career. Can we find a placement that meets these kinds of things that I'd like to be doing, if that makes sense. Let's see. What other questions do I have here? Crystal says, I am already employed at a local LMHA as a qualified mental health professional providing intensive case management. Would I have to be placed outside of my current place of employment? I have been there for 1.5 years. So that would be a good question to talk with your field advisor about. My understanding is that in some cases, if you're working in an area that does match your placement, that you may be able to work, for example, for your internship in a different department under a different supervisor, and that's sometimes a possibility. I know for sure you're not able to double dip, meaning you're not able to count your employment hours as also your internship hours. So again, that's probably a question that you need to talk more in detail with your field advisor and kind of find out a little bit more about what that would look like. When will the classes get assigned instructors? It kind of depends on the class. I expect that that will also populate within the next, hopefully this week. If not this week, then probably next week. But certainly by the first day of class, you'll have an instructor. Let's see, what else? Do we have to do a thesis? No, I'm not sure if I maybe wasn't as clear as I could have been in talking about thesis. You definitely do not have to do a thesis. I would say only about 5 to 10% of our students choose to do a thesis. If you don't want to do a thesis, you will be enrolled in integrative seminar in your final semester, which is what you see listed on your degree plan for summer of 2020. What is the difference between the foundation and advanced? I think I may have just answered that question. Let's see, how will we access the syllabus for our classes? The syllabus will be posted within Blackboard. There's a special link on that menu I was showing you that says syllabus. You'll just click there and you can download your syllabus from that link within your class. Let's see, you mentioned that doing a field placement at a hospital is not generally allowed. If we were interested in health social work but couldn't because it's not available for fully online students, whether the other options are there. Unfortunately, yeah, we don't offer the health specialty online simply because it's not quite as popular as this children and families specialty or our mental health specialty is, and we need to be able to fill our classes. And so at this point, we're just not able to offer it online. What I will say is that when you get your MSW degree, you are licensed to, and you get your license, you're really licensed to practice any type of social work you want to practice. So if you graduate from the program and then want to go into a hospital and work as a social worker in a hospital, there is nothing that would limit you from doing that. Simply because you specialized in children and families means you're developing expertise in the area of working with children and families. But it certainly doesn't mean that you would not be qualified to do any other type of social work that you wanted to do. You will have the MSW and hopefully the LMSW behind your name. And like I said, that qualifies you for any social work position, regardless of what specialty it is in. We're just offering you the opportunity to get this kind of extra expertise. Let's see. Okay, Lillian says she didn't get the person. Oh, I think Lillian, we were talking about field placements, and I told you that you should contact Amy Lopez, who's one of our field advisors. So Amy Lopez is the person you should contact, Lillian. Okay, Kanisha says, I work in a dementia daycare day center in Houston. Will I be able to do my internship or field placement at my job? I would say, Kanisha, that probably is a question you'd need to talk with your field advisor about, but on the surface, I would say probably not, simply because dementia we typically think of as something that that is more relevant to our older adult population. And your focus as a children and families specialty would need to have a child focus. So I wouldn't think that that would be an appropriate internship. But again, I'm not in charge of, I don't make the final decision about internships. So again, that might be something you would reach out to a field advisor to talk about. Where can you find a list of the agencies affiliated with UTA for field placement? So actually, when I emailed you this presentation, I will also email you a link to the page on the field website that lists all of our out-of-area placement opportunities, and you'll be able to access it easily from there. So I am not familiar with the Military Yellow Ribbon program, Terrence. I'm so sorry. If you want to email me separately, I can look into that and find out if there is something I can do for you in that regard. But Terrence, I'm not familiar with that program, so I need to do some research on my end to find that out. Devin works for CPS. Can I do my foundation placement with the agency? Yes, possibly. I would encourage you to reach out to the Center for Child Welfare. I was talking before about that stipend program. So I would go ahead and reach out to them directly. You can access them from our website. If you can't find them, then just shoot me an email and I'll send you the link to get in touch with the person who would be able to help assist you in finding out if that could work for your foundation placements. Okay. Can you tell us more in regards to a school social worker? If we're interested in this field, is there field work available in the summer? Sometimes. So it just depends on the placement. I have found that often school placements want you to do a block placement, but that's not always the case. And often most school administrators do work through the summer, and so there are often special projects that are going on that you can do your internship, throughout the summer months because you're working on, some kind of special project with the school's administration. So that's a potential possibility in terms of school social work. We do have a number of placements available in schools. We have good partnership with Communities in Schools program, and so many of our graduates are interested in school social work and are able to do their placement in a school setting. Let's see, I missed the answer to the question if we can get paid by our field placement. Yeah, so the answer was probably not, but we do have a limited number, I would say very few, but a few placements that offer a small stipend, and there is an opportunity through Child Protective Services to be able to participate in their stipend program. And so I'll actually send all of you the link to connect with them if that's something you want to consider pursuing. I'll send all of you the link along with this recording. Okay. So I've done a whole lot of talking. I hope that this was helpful to you. I want you to know that I am available to you to answer other questions as they come up. It's my job to make sure that you have a good experience in the program and that you graduate from this program fully equipped to launch your career as an MSW level social worker. I want to say that I'm really excited that you've chosen UTA and our MSW program. I think we have a lot of great things to offer you, and I'm excited that you've chosen us and that you are now Mavericks. So please reach out to me via email. I am available to you and am happy to answer any questions. Y'all take care and welcome to UTA. Thanks, everybody.